Hey everybody, it's Rich getting ready to tile the shower today. So let's go ahead and get started and I'll show you what you need to get this task completed. Hey, if this is the first time that you've clicked on my channel, appreciate you watching, and if you like what you see, please hit the like button or subscribe. And certainly if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. So the items that you're going to need to get the job done. So I've got a couple different levels, a long one for plumb, a medium size, and then I have a short one that I'm going to have. You're going to need, for large format tiles, anything over 15 or 12 on one end, you're probably going to want a 1/2 by 1/2 trowel. I also have a 1/4 by 1/4 for some of the smaller pieces that I have. And then I got this, which is kind of, it's kind of a mud bucket scraper for spackling, but I found it in the spackling section, and it works really great to clean the bucket out with the thin set. I have a margin trowel and just a taping knife for spackle, and then a small spackle knife just to kind of clean things up if I need to kind of scrape out some mortar. I have a couple of tile cutters for little small snips that I might need, and then I also have a sanding block for finishing off the edges that have been cut to make sure they're nice and clean, to kind of have a factory edge. I've mixed up my Multi-Max Light, so I'm using Laticrete's Multi-Max Light, and I've mixed it to where it's the thickest. There's two different liquid portions that you can choose for thin beds and then for large tiles, and I've done it for the large tiles. Got a clean bucket of water. I got my 1/8 inch spacers, and then I also bought a leveling kit. So I haven't used that before. We're going to go ahead and try that because I want to make sure that this wall is nice and level and smooth. So we're going to try this kit out and see if we like it. And I'll let you know what my review of it is. So I've got my center lines for the different walls right now, and I've created a ledger board for where my first course of full tiles will be. Below that will be the base tile, which will be essentially about a 1/2 a tile. It's going to be ripped in half, but I'll do that after this is set up. So once it's set up, I'll take the ledger board off and then measure and scribe to the floor. I've essentially cut all my tiles that I need to for this back wall. You want to go ahead and do the back wall first. That way you can cut your tiles for the side walls afterwards so that they're nice and tight up against there. So I'm waiting for the most part to cut these corner pieces until after I get this wall kind of set up. And then I'll start working my way up this wall here, because where I have made my grout lines where the tiles should end, it should end right here. So I should have a grout line right here, and then I should have a full tile right in this section here. But before I jump from doing this section of the wall to this section of the wall, I'd like to go ahead and have this one set up and then start working on this one, because I want to see where this tile ends up. Now, in theory, it should end up right here based on all my measurements, but I'd rather wait to get this one put up to see if it's higher or lower or what might be the case, so that I can make adjustments to this one if I need to. So I finished this wall, and now I'm working on mocking up my sidewall here. And I was just going to show you how I went about mocking it up. Obviously, I'm using masking tape to hold this stuff up. It's kind of precarious, but I got it set up here because I have the ledger board. It's going to stay, and it has been for the most part for the last hour or so. I didn't want to bore you with all the cuts that I'm making, but I just want to show you kind of how I'm putting this together and mocking it up before I actually put thinset on the wall, so that I know when I lay it, I'm not going to have any issues like the gaps between here and there as far as putting up this Schluter border, and also my gaps around here. And I was trying to make sure that as I was mocking this up, that I mocked it all the way up to this point, because I wanted to make sure that my grout line was going to fall just in line for me to put a full tile right here. And I am showing you the benefits of using a story pole at the beginning so that you know where your grout lines are going to be, because it couldn't get any better than it is right there by putting an 1/8 of an inch spacer in there for my grout line. And my next run's going to be right there, and it's going to be just in line with this one here. Have to scribe this because there's a little bit of a gap right here, but it's tight right there, so this is not lining up. So these are the kinds of things that I'm working through as I mock this stuff up before I get ready to thinset. Just because I don't have a second person making cuts and adjusting things as I go, and I don't want to mix the thinset and it go bad on me while I'm outside cutting things. So once I have this all mocked up and ready to go, I'll go ahead and pull everything down, and as I'm pulling it down, I'll take a marker and I will mark it like, you know, at the bottom that will be row 1, row 2, row 3, and I'll do L3, C3, R3 for left, center, and right, so that I know when I go to put them back up, it will be easy and I won't be trying to figure out which ones are what. Just makes it a little bit faster when I'm going to lay them out. So, all right, well, let me keep going. as I've been using these leveling clips, I've noticed that if there's a lot of buildup around the spacer itself, when you're trying to knock it off, it doesn't crack where it's supposed to, right at the base. So it's supposed to crack right at the base because it's a little thinner, and you can kind of, if you bend it, it'll start getting weak and it'll crack off. But if there's a lot of buildup on the spacer of thinset, it doesn't crack as easy, and what happens is it will crack off and it's kind of sticking out a little bit, and you got to go with a knife to try to cut it out, and potentially chipping away at some tile, edges, because you're using a knife, and just because this stuff is pretty hard to try to cut out. So what I've been noticing is that if I clean, and I typically do anyway, but I've been doing it more so even on the sides, at the top and the sides. So if you clean this area right at the base, and it actually helps clean out spacing in between so that you can actually get grout in the joints a lot easier, and you don't have a lot of excess cleanup after everything is dried. So I'll just take the margin trowel and just kind of go at a 45, kind of at a 45 this way to kind of clean it up like that. It makes it a little easier to fit these into place, and they don't get a lot of, because if it was a lot right there at the edge, it would ooze out all around the spacer. Like, it's oozing a little bit here, but not a lot, and it actually is in good shape right there, so that's good. And then you can add these. So what I've found also is that I will not put the spacer in until I spread the thinset above it, because the spacer kind of gets in your way when you're trying to trowel it out. So I just wait.